You are standing in near total darkness. No streetlights. No phone screen glowing in your pocket. Just cold air, the sounds of something moving in the brush nearby, and nothing separating you from it except your own body. For most of human history, there was exactly one thing that changed all of that. Fire. You already know fire matters. What you probably don't know is how genuinely difficult it was to get, how long humans went without fully controlling it, and how much of what makes you human, your brain, your social life, your very body, may be a direct result of finally figuring it out. Start with a question that sounds simple and isn't. When did humans first control fire? For a long time, the honest scientific answer was, nobody was sure. Ash and charcoal don't survive well over hundreds of thousands of years, and it's genuinely hard to tell the difference between a fire humans deliberately built and a wildfire that happened to sweep through a cave where humans also happened to live. In 2012, archaeologist Francesco Berna and his team examined Wonderwork Cave in South Africa and found something that helped settle part of the debate. Deep inside the cave, far from where a wildfire could plausibly reach, they found burned bone fragments and ash residues dated to roughly 1 million years ago. Because of the cave's depth and the specific way the burned material was distributed, wind-blown wildfire ash was extremely unlikely to explain it. This wasn't proof of fire making from scratch. It was strong evidence of fire use and management deep inside a controlled space. But here's the detail that changes the whole story. Using fire is not the same as making fire. For an enormous stretch of that million years, the most likely scenario isn't that your ancestors were striking rocks together to create a spark on demand. It's that they were opportunists. A lightning strike or wildfire would ignite dry grass or a tree. Someone would notice, and someone would carry a burning branch back to camp. The real skill, for a very long time, may not have been creation. It was capture, and keeping something alive that wanted, by its nature, to go out. Picture that scene. You are one of the people responsible for a fire that took someone else, maybe someone from a generation before you, real effort and real luck to capture. You cannot let it die. So you feed it constantly, small amounts of dry wood day and night, someone always awake to watch it, because if it goes out and there's no wildfire nearby to relight it from, that fire might be gone for months or longer. This job, tending an ember through the night so it survives until morning, may have been one of the very first specialized roles in any human community. Actually striking or drilling a new fire into existence, independent of any existing flame, came later, and evidence for the specific technique is harder to pin down than you might expect. Researchers studying sites like Kizum Cave in Israel have found evidence of habitual, controlled fire use dating back roughly 300,000 to 400,000 years, alongside signs that this fire use had become a deeply embedded, near daily part of life rather than an occasional lucky capture. By this point, something had shifted. Fire wasn't just being kept alive. It was being used with intention, in specific locations, repeatedly, generation after generation. Here's where the story gets genuinely surprising. You might assume fire's biggest impact was warmth, or protection from predators, both true, both important. But primatologist Richard Wrangham has argued for something more fundamental, that cooking food, made possible by controlled fire, didn't just make meals taste better. It may have physically reshaped the human body and brain. Cooked food is dramatically easier to digest than raw food. Chewing and digesting raw meat and plants demands enormous amounts of energy and a large, muscular gut. Cooking essentially externalizes part of digestion, breaking down tough fibers and proteins before they ever enter your mouth. Wrangham's hypothesis suggests that this freed up energy, no longer needed for a massive digestive system, could be redirected elsewhere, namely toward a bigger, more expensive organ, the brain. In this view, Fire and cooking aren't just conveniences layered on top of what already made you human. They may be part of what made the human brain, calorically speaking, affordable in the first place. Now mirror that fire circle onto your evening. Every time you gather with people around a table, a barbecue, a candle at dinner, you are echoing something that shaped human social structure for hundreds of thousands of years. Anthropologists studying modern hunter-gatherer groups have repeatedly found that firelight, specifically, extends the useful day into hours when nothing else productive can really happen, hours too dark to forage, hunt, or work, but perfectly suited to talking, storytelling, teaching, and simply being near other people without doing anything at all. Some researchers argue this nightly firelit downtime, forced by darkness and made possible by flame, was one of the primary engines of human culture itself, the space where language, myth, and social bonding had room to develop. This is the part that reflects directly back on you. The next time you're gathered around any kind of flame, a fire pit, candles at a dinner table, even a phone screen glowing in a dark room passed hand to hand like an ember, you're participating in something that predates written language, agriculture, and even most of what we call civilization. The specific technology has changed almost beyond recognition. The underlying instinct, to gather near a source of light and warmth when the world goes dark, and to talk, has not. You are standing in near total darkness, and for the first time in nearly 2 million years, that darkness genuinely doesn't threaten you. Somewhere behind that fact sits a lineage of people who captured a spark from a lightning-struck tree, kept it alive through 1,000 freezing nights, and eventually learned to make their own, so that you would never again have to sit in the dark with nothing standing between you and whatever moved in it.